One of my favourite authors, Terry Pratchett, once said, the thing about football is it isn't really about the football. Like Terry, football has a wonderful way of telling us so many stories, teaching us so many lessons, and of course, you learn so much more in defeat. In the 1992 European Cup final, Johan Cruyff's Barcelona side took on a Sampdoria side with two lethal strikers up top who become known as the Goal Twins. I'm not going to do the Italian version. The game ended 1-0. It was Barcelona's first Champions League trophy, and their current manager, Ronald Koeman, scored the winner with one of his trademark free kicks. While Pep Guardiola and the Spanish celebrated, Italy mourned, and nearly 30 years later, on the same pitch, Gianluca Violi and Roberto Mancini, losers with Sampdoria that day, the Goal Twins, were together again at Wembley on Sunday. Amidst a sea of emotions, as the cyclical nature of life threw them the ultimate chance at redemption as manager and coaching staff of Italy. Without pain, there's no joy. Without light, there is no dark. And for every winner, there must be a loser. And so, the complex tapestry of narratives continues. This is for the ones who If Southgate's whole career had been overshadowed by one missed penalty and a Pizza Hut advert, to be able to lead the country to the final of a major international competition at Wembley and for it to be decided by penalties seemed to be the perfect way for life to complete the cycle.
Unless I'm mistaken. Thank you, miss. Come on, Gareth, it only took me 6 years to get over it.
Thanks a lot, boys. I feel much better now.
Was it perhaps even more poetic that Southgate, scarred for life by his own miss, would himself be charged with the task of selecting the penalty takers of England's next most devastating defeat? There'll be people that will make this about the football, about how he got it wrong again, and the game plan being too negative, the timing of the substitutions and tactics and the choice of penalty takers. But here is a man who has brought together and led the England team to the very brink, not once, but twice. These are the facts. And for that, I am really thankful, because twice now, in recent times, we've seen this country united like never before, with people dreaming and sharing a common goal. People don't watch football all invested. People of all backgrounds who can see a little bit of themselves in this diverse squad of players. Gone are the days of fame-hungry wags and club rivalries ruining what chance we once had with the golden generation. And in have stepped these well-mannered, intelligent, socially conscious players who've done so much more than football. From donations to pledges to build hospitals overseas, to feeding the country's poverty-stricken kids, to standing up for what they believe in, while grotesquely overweight politicians waste taxpayers' money giving contracts to university mates, tweeting pictures of themselves supporting England like they weren't telling fans to boo the players last month.
So the England fans are right to boo?
Well, that's a choice for them, quite frankly.
This tournament's been another chance for people to realign, for people from all walks of life to see that they can actually share a common goal, and we're not all that different to each other. But who is actually this country's real leader? Is he a man who has continually brought the country together, or a man at the head of the government who seems hell-bent on tearing us apart? You might have made mistakes along the way, but the thing about football is it's not really about the football. Life came full circle for Southgate after extra time as he selected the England players who take the penalties. First Rashford, then Sancho, both subbed on in the 120th minute, then Saka. A homegrown hero from Manchester, a South London icon who's just signed for Manchester United, and a straight-A student who is living out every kid's dream. These three are a shining example. Literally seconds after Donnarumma saved the penalty, the atmosphere of the whole country changed. A month of everybody dreaming. People who can't singing It's Coming Home at every available opportunity. People who never talk about football, talking to me about football. The whole feel-good spirit wiped away in an instant as one kick of a ball, one kick of a plastic ball sent a flood of monkey emojis and banana emojis and other racist comments to all three players who missed. A mural of Rashford, where he grew up, was vandalised. You've got politicians and pricks, I mean, is there a difference? But using the loss as the chance to have a go at him for playing politics rather than spending time perfecting his game. While Southgate has been the definitive modern leader, a pillar of solidarity, a calm but firm voice in the fight against racism and stood by his players' choices. Just a few weeks ago, the leaders of this country, Boris Johnson and Priti Patel, both refused to condemn the booing of the players who took the knee. But here they are, shamelessly tweeting about how appalling the abuse is and telling racist fans that they should be ashamed of themselves. The irony is, of course, that these two same people are, without question, responsible for so much of the division in this country. This is the same Boris Johnson who commissioned an article arguing that black people have lower IQs, refused to sack a eugenicist, praised colonialism, said black kids scare him, said Obama hated Churchill because he's part Kenyan, compared Muslim women to letterboxes, described Africans as pickaninnies with watermelon smiles, and stated that the problem with Africa is that Britain isn't in charge anymore. As with anything, the problem starts at the top. And these racist attacks on England's players are a direct reflection of the country. Football has a great way, actually, of showing us exactly where we really stand as a society. And I'm sorry to say this, but I've been to a few World Cups and Euros, and from what I've seen, while most countries' fans are celebrating, dancing, and enjoying being involved whilst creating an atmosphere that you just need to be around, they're not getting pissed from 8 a.m. and ripping the city to shreds. The sad thing is, if people get away with all this, nothing will have been learned. We don't need performative tweets from politicians. We need these people punished. England fans and football have got a real reputation, and if the 2030 World Cup bid is unsuccessful, the reasons why are going to be shockingly clear, because they were on show for the whole world to see. Waking up for the big day, plenty of people had their mind made up that they just weren't going to miss this one. Forget not having a ticket. Being there for the biggest day in 55 years of footballing history in this country was more important. Now, they've made statements saying they're investigating now, but Wembley officials tried to say only 150 people had got through and that none had got into the stadium, but the truth was very different. Fans who bought tickets saw others smashing past the barriers, and the whole thing looked like absolute madness. Some people took matters into their own hands. It's easy to hear people screaming at security staff to do their job, but how many of you would actually risk being trampled to death for £8 an hour? The fact that people who'd paid up to $4,000 for a ticket couldn't get into their own seats is fucking outrageous. You've got 50-year-old men who'd taken their dads for the last hurrah, one last special day out to see the game of all games that they've probably been waiting their whole lives for. And truth be told, if there were old people there, they must have been panicking. Whole families literally running for their lives to escape from the chaos. From what I can make out, about 10 to 15,000 people who didn't have tickets managed to get into the stadium, and staff were simply so overrun that they had no choice but to let it just happen. Of course, then you've got the overcrowding and the fighting in the stadium as hundreds of paying fans were forced to try and watch the game from behind a sea of heads that weren't even supposed to be there. When Saka stepped up to take his penalty, I thought about how he'd only made his Arsenal debut at 17, how he was Arsenal's Player of the Year at 19 years old, and how incredible it is that he started for England in the semi-finals of Euro 2020 and how he stood there for a brief moment in front of 60 or probably 75,000 people with the whole country's mood swinging on the next kick of that plastic ball. Kick it to the left and maybe we would never have known that Andrew Bone, a former commercial building manager at Savills, is a bona fide racist who claims that just after Saka's penalty he was hacked, and the hacker tweeted and then deleted the racist tweets that went out from his account. How odd. One penalty to define a nation, one goal to change the course of history, one save to expose a nation's racists. All the hate has only made me appreciate the squad even more. So much hate has only made me appreciate the squad even more. Look at Saka, for example. I am so incredibly proud of him. Rashford, a pillar of his community and a man who took on the government for the greater good of the people. Not only for their performances on the pitch, but for the maturity that they've showed off it. Most kids of that age are playing their PlayStations, not for England. You know, Arsenal fans have known for a while that Saka is special, but now the whole world knows. It is just so sad to see that the world knows as well that when the going gets tough, this is how England reacts. As Southgate clung on to a clearly devastated Saka, it felt a little bit like he was somehow passing the torch over, and now begins the metaphorical road to redemption for the youngster. Luckily enough, he and most of this squad are young enough and good enough to keep inspiring and perhaps go one step further next time. I guess the moral of the story is, don't let it go to penalties.